Have you seen those memes that say, what if there is just one more night left to get through before everything starts to fall into place? Well, what if there is just one more week left to get through before everything starts to fall into place? This really could be that week. There's a lot happening. We've got Venus retrograde, we've got Mercury going retrograde, and we have a full moon eclipse. It's all in this week's episode. So it's a big week astrologically speaking, which means a lot of us are going to be going through big times, big feelings, big events, big life, because what we have this week really is like a confluence of quite important astrology events, which I want to go through with you one by one. The main three are the fact that Venus is already retrograde. You probably know that. Now we're about to have a full moon eclipse, and Mercury is about to go retrograde. So having those three things happening in one single week is pretty massive. So let's talk about what it all means, astrologically, emotionally, all that kind of thing. So it really is a time, I think the biggest thing, it's a time to look at what in your life you need to clear out or release or let go of. Now, why is that the case? Because Venus retrograde is about reevaluating everything. And so there are going to be times, you're going to reevaluate something, and it could be, an item. Here's a thing I probably don't need. It looks like it's a shampoo from one of the hotels I stayed in while I was traveling. Do I really need that? I mean, I suppose I could put it in my travel case. Do I need, what else have I got on my desk? Here. Do I need this thing? Because guess what? I don't even know what that is. Oh, it might be a sticky tape holder with a weird thing on the back. Do I need this old pot of farrow and ball paint when I've pretty much painted the whole house? It's stuff like that. Now, it's not because Venus retrograde is about decluttering, though it can be. Let's just break down why reevaluation really, I think, is the number one phrase for Venus retrograde. So a retrograde is always about something, like with Mercury retrograde, rethink, redo, revisit, revise, revamp, and all that. Okay, so it's always going to be about redoing something or looking back into your past and thinking, Venus is love and abundance, but also very much about values. Okay, so it's values actually covers love and abundance. It's who we value, what value we place on things, what value we place on ourselves. It can be even things like a work-life balance. What's the value I place on my personal life versus the value I place on my professional life, for example. So Venus retrograde is Venus value retrograde turn them around and you get reevaluate. So, it's things like, reevaluating. Do I need this funny looking sticky tape thing? Probably not. I have a sticky tape drawer. I've got enough tape in there. I can take what's left in there. Reevaluating relationships, reevaluating arguments. If you've been having a big argument with someone in the recent past, maybe you're thinking, I'm reevaluating how I feel about that issue. I'm reevaluating whether or not I think I needed to go that hard or say that much. Or it can be to do with realizing you've been taking someone for granted, or they've been taking you for granted, and reevaluating what you're getting from a relationship, reevaluating how much effort you're willing to put into a relationship. Or, I've got a lovely friend who's quitting her job at the moment because she's been reevaluating the effect this job has on her mental health versus how much money she's earning. So, it's really very much a time to do that when Venus is retrograde, okay? Anyway, and that's what hopefully you've been doing. And I will say I do have this free Venus retrograde course, which I think I told you about last week, but just bear with me. For anyone who didn't hear that, if you are going through a time of looking to the past or reevaluating how you feel about your ex, or reevaluating how you feel about your current partner, or reevaluating how you've been spending your money or how you've been saving or haven't been saving, the mini course, there's a free course and a paid course. The short one has 3 little lessons in it. And the first lesson is really, what is Venus retrograde and how is it going to affect you? So if you are sort of looking to the past, even the free course can probably help you quite a lot. I'm pretty sure the second lesson in the free course is how to tell where Venus is retrograde in your chart. So it may well be that Venus is retrograde in your love zone, in which case you can expect past lovers or past relationship issues to sort of reappear. It could be in your money zone, in which case the best possible scenario is probably you'll get some money that you've been owed for a long time, and so on. It might be in your career zone. Maybe you're renegotiating your pay, your fee structures. So, and then the third, I think the third lesson, I'm pretty sure the third lesson is about this actual miracle that happened when I was recording the Venus retrograde course, which was many years ago now, and it was at least 6 years ago. And at the time, I had a really big upset with a very dear friend. It was, stupid and ridiculous. And I was talking in the course about how it's a time to make up with people, and Venus retrograde, very good time to repair a friendship. And we had a kind of a friendship miracle as a part of the course. So I'll put the link in the description, but basically if you want to get the free course, you just go to moonmessages.com/Venus free. Venus free. moonmessages.com/Venus free, because it's so important, I think, to really try to understand what Venus retrograde is about, because it only happens every year and a half, and it's really a chance for us to, like I said, re-weigh up what really matters in your life. In my membership this month, if you're one of my members, shout out to my members, thank you guys, the mainly Moonology membership. If you're not a member, you'd like to join us, we're actually going to be doing an exercise which helps you to kind of work out what really matters, and how to live your life in accordance with what really matters. That's what we all want to be doing now under Venus retrograde. It's not a bad thing. I mean, it can be a time where if you're in a relationship, you feel a bit more distant from people, distant from your partner, but it can also be a time where you realize that, you've made some mistakes and you want to fix them up. So that's Venus retrograde. Now, why this week is so huge is because not only do we have this rare Venus cycle, which is really big and important and will affect us all, not only do we have that, we also get this week, and in some ways I've buried the lead because I think this is the biggest event of the week, really, because we've already had a few weeks of Venus retrograde. We're starting to get used to it. We're starting to understand it's a time to kind of, go through our past, go through our stuff, and get rid of what's no longer needed, what we no longer value, no longer matters to us. Now we get the full moon eclipse. So that's huge as well. So a full moon eclipse is, such an important time for thinking about what in your life you need to release. Okay, so we've now got a double signature for that, because Venus, as we weigh up what's important to us, what matters to us, we'll let go of some stuff. And now here comes the full moon eclipse. Now, if there's something or someone in your life that you're kind of hanging on to, then you need to be careful, because eclipses get us back on our proper path. And if we've wandered off the path, they just come along and give us a good thwack so that we get back on the right path. Now, that sounds good, but the reality is that it can be quite challenging, because what can happen is that you're clinging on for, dear life or grim death to someone or something. Could be a relationship, could be a job, could be an argument. And your higher self knows that you need to let go of this. Maybe it's a relationship that has just run its course. Maybe not all relationships are meant to last forever. Maybe it's a job like my friend where you just know it's not serving your highest good, or whatever, a domestic situation, living with someone, whatever. Now, under normal circumstances, I think it's fair to say we can all kind of muddle along, and we hope that eventually, if we should leave that job, we'll get a chance to leave that job in our own sweet time, when we're ready, when we've sorted everything else out or whatever. Or in a relationship, we'll leave it when we're good and ready. This is not the case with eclipses. Eclipses, basically, in my experience of having studied eclipses pretty deeply for about 25 years, every eclipse I've paid very close attention, and I've watched what happens in my life and what happens in my friends' lives and what happens in my readers' lives. And basically what they do is they, like I said, they push us back onto our path that we incarnated to be on. So our souls come in here with a purpose and a mission. And if we are off track because we're clinging on to the wrong person or the wrong job or the wrong living situation or whatever, eclipses are really like a correction time where we get, our course gets re-steered if we've gone off the course. Now, if you are clinging on to something which you shouldn't be clinging on to, I'm telling you, that is when eclipses can be tough, okay? So the best thing to do is to think about what I've said about Venus retrograde, time to reevaluate. What do I want? What do I need? What matters to me? Am I living my life in accordance with that? Use the power of the eclipse to just go thwack and let it go. Or maybe not thwack, but cut, There may be an argument to say don't cut what you can untie. But with eclipses, it's really not so much about untying as, cutting, releasing, letting go. So really what you need to bear in mind as we go through all this is it's going to be much easier on you if you let go of whatever you need to let go of before the universe comes along and basically forces your hand, all right? And then you find that you're having something kind of ripped out of your life, which is much, much harder. Eclipses do have a difficult reputation, and I think one of the reasons is that they can be difficult if we are fighting them. If we are resisting with every fiber in our body, doing whatever it is that life clearly wants us to do, eclipses can basically force our hand and force the issue. And in my experience, it's much, much more painful if the eclipse kind of does the work for you. It's much better to try and let go of whatever you need to release before your hand is forced. So just bear that in mind as you think about what really matters to you. Like I said, do the free Venus course, Venus retrograde course if you want to, moonmessages.com/Venus free. That will get you started. And then if you do feel inclined, do the whole course. It's a really powerful course. It's an old course. I'll give you the URL if you want to just go straight to the full course as well. It's moonmessages.com/just Venus, moonmessages.com/Venus. Yeah, I haven't re-recorded it, even though it's so old. Like, it's like another person was recording. It was like, like I said, like 6 or even 8 years ago. I was so in the moment. It was recorded during Venus retrograde. So I'm just going to keep using that because I don't think it's ever going to go out. It might go out of style because it was so long ago, but it's never going to go out of date with the information that's in there. So what I want you to think about before we talk about Mercury retrograde is the fact that with all that's going on, Venus retrograde, full moon eclipse, okay, it's very much a time to clear away whatever needs to be cleared away, because guess what? 2 weeks after the full moon eclipse, what do we get? We get the new moon eclipse, okay, which is an amazing time for starting over. But it's a bit like, you can't really start over if you can't start the new chapter till you finish the old chapter, especially if you want anything to make sense. Let's put it like that. You have to finish the old chapter, turn the page, start the new chapter, and there will be new chapters starting. And I know sometimes when you're going through something and you're going through, like, it can feel like a tunnel of change. Sometimes you get sucked into this tunnel, all of a sudden change that you didn't necessarily want or see coming, and you're like sucked through this black hole, and it can feel like forever. Cling on and keep going, and you just have all these changes foisted upon you, or, sudden experiences, all sorts of things it can be. And then you can't even imagine, you're ever going to come out the other side. You've got no idea how long this dark black tunnel is. And then eventually, before you know it, you'll have finished the tunnel and you'll be out the other side into bright daylight, and hopefully beautiful celestial music and clouds of joy and puffy, happy pink things on the other side. So you think of now as kind of going through that birth canal or that delivery canal of Venus retrograde and the eclipse. And I will be doing my regular full moon eclipse update, which I do for free on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, just go to Yasmin Boland Moonology, look up events, and you'll see when I'm doing the Facebook Live, which will just be a rundown of the astrology of the eclipse. And then after that, I will go straight to my members, my mainly Moonology members, and we are going to do some eclipse chanting, which is going to be really powerful. I really want to do that because it will help to realign our energies under the eclipse. Okay, and if you're not a member, you want to be a member, mainly Moonology membership.com. There's hundreds and hundreds of us, nearly 1,000 of us. It's a wonderful place and I love it. So come and join us. So after the full moon eclipse, then we get one more big piece of astrological news. There's actually other aspects happening which are positive, but the big thing is then we're going to have Mercury going retrograde as well. We're going to have Mercury going retrograde. Now, for one thing that's really important is a lot of this action is taking place in the sign of Aries. So if you know your chart, we all have Aries in our chart somewhere. If you know your chart, have a look at where Aries is, because that's where a lot of this action is happening. And if you don't know your chart, it doesn't matter. Just be aware that Mercury retrograde is also very much about the past, okay? It is all the rethinking, redoing, revamping, revisiting, revising. It's more mental. Venus is the heart, Mercury is the mind. So now we're going to have Venus, the planet of the heart, of love, of the heart chakra, let's say, Venus retrograde, and now we're going to have the planet of the mind, Mercury retrograde as well. So it really is like a double whammy, or with the eclipse, it's a triple whammy of go back to the past, look at what you no longer need, look at relationships that just need to be, tidied up and swept away. Look at upsets that need to be tidied up and swept away. Look at whatever in your past needs to be wrapped up in a pretty pink bow and sent off into the ethers to be dissolved into oneness with the great mother and the great cosmos. It's really a time to clear away the past, to make way for whatever's happening in the present so that you can create a better future. Now, it really is a very big year, but it's very much, think of it like a chance to shed the old you and step into a new version of yourself, okay? And to do it bravely, because there's so much Aries energy around, and to do it carefully, because there's also the full moon eclipse is in Virgo, and Virgo is a very careful sign. It really is a time to kind of try and embrace change. I know, of all people, I know change is not always easy. I'm Cancerian. We like to cling on to the past. But sometimes we have to go, you know what, there's a new cycle starting now. I wouldn't even say there's a new cycle starting now yet, forgive me. I would say there is an old cycle ending. Okay, so we've got the looking back with the Mercury retrograde, we've got the feeling, our old feelings with the Venus retrograde, and we've got the lunar eclipse, the full moon eclipse, saying, if you're ever going to move past this issue, this person, this upset, this disappointment, this whatever, now is the time. You might sort of go, well, how am I meant to do it? And there are lots and lots of ways to do it. Some of the ideas that I love to work with are tapping, if you know how to do tapping. If you don't know how to do tapping, just Google Nick Ortner tapping. He's brilliant. It's a way of like connecting your body, your mind and your spirit. And it's a way to kind of to release stuff. You'll find, you know, just Google release the past, EF for Freddie, T for Tommy, tapping, EFT, tapping, Nick Ortner. You'll get a free tapping thing on YouTube. You can do things like writing out upsets or whatever it is you need to release. And I recommend if you do that, you do it with a pen and paper and you give yourself at least 5 minutes to write, because it's not something you can just do quickly, one and done, or just do it, whatever, burn it. No, it's not like that. You have to literally express it, okay? It's expression. It's expressing it out of yourself, through your fingers, into the pen, onto the paper. You express it. And sometimes when you do this, you get a kind of a clarity on the ridiculousness of the situation, the absurdity of what you've been putting up with, or the absurdity of wishing that things were different when it's so clear that this is the way things are, right? So, and then you can burn that. Really important to burn this kind of stuff. Just get rid of it. Another way you can do it that I love to do is chanting, because chanting just helps you with pretty much anything that you need to release. And so I would recommend probably the chant that we will do together in my membership area this month. I'm probably going to go with Om Namo Narayani, which is the chant from the ashram that I've been going to all these years, which basically means I surrender to the divine, or I surrender to the divine mother, because now really is a time to just let go. Just let go of stuff. And that chant helps us surrender. I might do a chant. I'll probably do the chant as well to Mercury, because that's the sign, the planet that governs the sign of Virgo. And we'll probably do the chakra clearing chant as well. We'll probably do those 3 in the membership this month. If I forget and you're listening to this and you're in the membership, remind me. I should probably write it down as soon as I finish this, but I think they would be 3 really, really good chants to do. You can also do meditation. Just by meditating, you know, my first meditation teacher used to say, imagine you've got all these little knots, little bits of string in a knot in your body, and as you meditate, they just unknot and they just float off into the ethers. You know, meditation can help you release whatever you need to release. It can help you get clarity. I always say that meditating is like meeting yourself. I used to joke it was like someone coming up to me going, hi, Yasmin, I'm Yasmin. And you kind of get to know yourself, and meditating helps you to do that, and you'll get clarity at a time where there is a lot of confusion in the air, because Mercury retrograde is confusing. Venus retrograde can be confusing emotionally, and eclipses are really, really intense times. And then the last one I wanted to mention, because it is a really good one, visualization. I know it's like everybody talks about visualization now. It's such a powerful thing to do. Okay, feel it viscerally, feel it in your body, and see yourself releasing whatever you need to release. Just visualize it, cutting the cords. That's another one, actually. Cutting the cords, asking Archangel Michael to help you cut the cords can also be a really powerful thing. So basically, it's a very, very important week. You could call it a bit of a powerhouse week. And each event that's taking place, you know, they're all intertwined. Be aware they're all intertwined. And it's really about releasing outdated anything, from clutter to upsets to relationships to dramas, so that we can start to make space for the new cycle that will be starting in 2 weeks, with the new moon in no less than the first sign of zodiac, Aries. And I'll be doing a special Facebook Live for that as well. So if you don't follow me on Facebook, just find me on there, Yasmin Bowl and Moonology. You'll find me, I'm verified. All right, so I hope that helps you make sense of this week. Summing it up, it's an intense week. We are being urged to let go of the past, very much in a kind of a sweeping broom. That's the feeling I get, of a broom sweeping things out to make way for new opportunities that are going to come later. It's the time to embrace change, prepare for possibilities that at the end of that dark tunnel of change I was talking to you about. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if this has touched you in any way. You can leave a comment below if you're watching it on YouTube. If you're listening as a podcast, and you can take 5 minutes to please leave me a review, and hopefully a 5-star review. That would be amazing. It really helps other people to find the podcast, and it gives me a reason to keep going. Basically, I'm just wishing you lots and lots of love. I will be helping all my members in particular, but everybody hopefully, to navigate this week with the various events I'll be doing. So, you know, stay in touch, and just remember it's intense times, but it's nothing that you can't handle. And the less you resist, the easier this period is going to be. All right. Thank you. Lots of love.